Hi, my name is Daniel, and in this video we're going to create Launchpad enhancements. But first, let's understand what Launchpad enhancements are. Enhancements are the tool to add customized code to the Neptune Launchpad standard under defined enhancement spots. So, instead of modifying the core SAP Edition standard Launchpad, which might cause unexpected or unwanted errors, we can use the Launchpad enhancements to fulfill custom Launchpad requirements. Neptune has defined a number of enhancement spots where you can modify Neptune standard code in a non-destructive way, or even add extra code to fulfill your requirements. During this video, we're going to create Launchpad enhancements based on these three examples. First, moving the tile group titles on the right side of the Launchpad header. Second, replacing the account icon with the initials of the user that is logged in. And third, accessing a specific part of an application when the Launchpad is open. Let's begin by accessing the enhancement tool. Once inside, we can add a new enhancement via the Add button. In here, we need to set an ID and a description. And now we can create a new enhancement. Now that we have the enhancement created, we can start adding custom code. And to do that, we're going to click on the Spots tab. Under the Spots tab, we have a number of enhancements to use and apply on a Launchpad or a mobile client. Let's begin with the first example, which is moving the tile group titles on the right side of the Launchpad header. To achieve this, we're going to use the Before Startup enhancement spot. This spot is triggering our custom logic before the Launchpad is loaded and showed on the device. So, how can we do this? First, let's start by accessing our Launchpad and press on Run. While running the Launchpad, we're going to open the Developer Tools and go to the Inspector. And now, let's find our container that has the tile group titles. And here we have it. It's called App Cache App Button. But since we need to move this on the right side of the Launchpad header, we need to find the other container. So if we go a bit down and go over here, we have the top layout right. Okay, so with this, we now have our namings and components needed to write the logic. Let's go back to the Before Startup enhancement spot. In here, it's really just as simple as writing a single line of code. So we're going to write top layout right dot insert item app cache app button, and now we need to leave this as activated and save. We just need one extra step, which is to apply this enhancement in our Launchpad. To do that, we're going back to the Launchpad. Once inside the Launchpad, under the General tab, we have the Application Settings. Here, we have the Neptune Launchpad Standard as the default Launchpad application, as well as the option to add a Launchpad enhancement which is where we need to apply our enhancement. So, first, let's enter edit mode, and now we need to search for our enhancement, and we also need to enable this enhancement, otherwise the changes that we made won't take effect. So let's save, display, and let's go back to our Launchpad. As you can see right now, it's still on the left side, but after refreshing, as you can see, now we have the tile group titles on the right side of the Launchpad header, and all of this was done without the need to interfere with the core code of the Launchpad. For the second example, we'll replace the user icon with the user initials. In order to achieve this, let's go back to our enhancement. Let's scroll up, and we're going to use the after startup enhancement, which triggers before the Launchpad starts up. In here, we're going to build our logic. So, I already have the logic ready with two functions. The first function, getInitialsText for avatar, is taking the name of the user from the app cache. Then it's going to split that name, get the number of names, and finally it will then subtract the initial of the first name and the initial of the last name. Then we have the second function, renderInitialsAvatar, which is setting the initials to the app cache shell user. Now let's have a look at that component. So let's go over to the inspector, and as you can see, it is a button. So let's go back to our enhancement. We need to click on the activated button and save. We also need to add some styling to this button. So let's go back to the Launchpad tool, put it on edit mode, and now we go over to global style, and in here we can add some CSS styling. I have a CSS ready, which is setting a background color, border radius. It basically will make the button look better. So let's save, display, and now let's go back to our Launchpad and refresh. And now we can see that instead of the user icon, we have our initials. Now let's move on to the last example, which is accessing a specific part of an application when opening the Launchpad. To achieve this, we'll use the After Update Enhancement spot where we will build our logic. So, this code is splitting the URL based on the AND key attribute as well as the equal key attribute. And the result will be getting the app name as well as the material number. With the app name, we can then load the material number via the app cache while specifying the application and passing the material number as the starting parameter. Now, let's go to the app designer, and for this example I created a simple application that will search the details about the specific material number, which has as well extra functionality inside the script. The logic inside the script contains an if statement that will take the material number from the URL and then it will insert that number inside an input field. After that, it will fire the press event of the search button, which will retrieve the details corresponding to the material number from SAP. Now, let's go back to our enhancement. First, let's activate the enhancement spot. and save. To test this out, we're going to grab the URL and pass it on our Launchpad. And as you can see, when accessing the Launchpad through this URL, it will enter the application automatically and search for the material number. The same would be if we change this number in the URL to another one. The advantage of having an enhancement set up like this is, for example, that you can send one URL which will then open the application showing just a specific material number, rather than leaving the user to open the application and search for that material. With these examples of enhancements, you can see how easy it is to make both functional and cosmetic changes to the Launchpad, and this without changing the core Launchpad code. And when you upgrade the Neptune platform, all of the enhancements that you created will not be touched. They will continue to function the same way as they did before the upgrade.